Hello, and welcome to another Fireside Chat. This is Fireside Chat number 62, I believe. Yeah.
Yes.
And this is quite a special Fireside Chat because Codurance is turning 10 years old now. Yeah, you can say it quickly, but it doesn't go by quickly. And we wanted to do something a little bit special, and maybe have a little bit of a session where we go back and see how things have evolved since then. And for those of you that are new, we do this almost every week. Well, we've stopped for a while now.
Yeah.
But the idea is that almost every week we get together, we talk about stuff in the industry, about things that worry us and that kind of thing. And at some point we thought that it was interesting maybe to share with the rest of the world. So that's how these things came to be. No?
And this is a special one because I think that after 60, well, this is the 62 episode, so it's the first time that you're doing that together in the same room.
That's right, yes.
So we've never done that together.
2 years or something, but we were always remote, so.
It started as a COVID thing, didn't it?
Yeah.
So let's jump right in then. Yeah. And I guess it's only fair to start at the beginning, right? Like we're talking about Codurance as founders. Now, what drive you to start Codurance in the first place?
It seems so long ago now, after everything we went through in 10 years. But like, one of the things that drove us, like Mesh and I were at the heart of software craftsmanship community, mainly the London software craftsmanship community, but we were also very connected with many other communities in Europe. And through that work, we met so many different people in different organizations, and more people were interested to bring the software craftsmanship into their organizations. And we started having a lot of opportunities to work with people. And we also thought about, like, we always, like, in a way, we looked at other companies and say, oh, they could be better. Maybe the managers could do better, or they could do things in a different way. But we had never done that ourselves, and said, like, well, why don't we put the money where our mouth is? Like, can we actually do better? Can we actually create a company that we would be proud of? Can we do things in the way that we think they should be done? And also, at the same time, find that opportunity to bring craftsmanship to more and more places. So starting a consultancy around software craftsmanship allowed to do those things. First of all, us trying to do things that we sometimes even criticized in other companies. We can leave to a little bit later, we actually learned that it was much harder than we thought. But also allowed us to build software the way we wanted and work with a lot of very cool people as well.
I distinctly remember at the time, we were both working in a large investment bank, and we were brought in to help change the culture, change the ways of working, kind of bring in that kind of developer pride in a way. And we were getting somewhere. We definitely made a lot of improvements in there. Always seemed like a bubble though, and in the end it actually did turn out to be a bubble, because when we left, and it wasn't just because of us, a few other people left as well, and the whole thing kind of collapsed. And there was a bit of frustration there as well, that we're doing this thing inside this bubble, and it's only gonna be, it's only a matter of time when the kind of the bureaucracy kind of kicks in again, a new head of whatever comes in, and they say, well, this is not the way I like it, and just completely change. So that was one thing. So like, why don't we start something that we are in control of?
Just kind of align the culture that you have. It's actually the culture that you want to have. It's not trying to change the culture that is already there.
Exactly. Exactly. And the other thing was this community feel, because we used to get this kind of very, it was really a nice feeling and a nice way of working when we were working within the community, when we were doing things, everyone working together, trying to come up with sessions, helping each other learn. The enthusiasm that we saw for software development, regardless of the kind of profession, because we in the craftsmanship community we had quite a few different roles as well, and they were and that kind of love for the profession that existed within the community, and that was even in the department that we were working in, definitely was in there. We felt that it didn't exist in the wider context within the company that we were working for, and when we start on our own, that would be the kind of the basis of what we create. But also, this is something that this show we can take on the road and kind of help other clients as well.
Yeah.
And that's how we started.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good follow up, because that's what drove you to it. It's a bit of a personal challenge at the same time as can this be something that is not the exception, but like this is the way that the companies work and build software and so on. But then as you move, you started, as you said, now a bit of a this cultural change, kind of almost as a service, to some extent. But it's been 10 years, right? Like a lot has happened. So why don't we go quickly through, what has happened in this last 10 years, very quickly. Yeah, I know that there's a lot. I know there's a lot, but just to set the context now, because I feel like this idea of having a particular mindset or way of doing things must have been challenged quite a few times along the way, right? Like it's not, when you're not the norm, you're normally going to find this kind of cultural shocks, so to speak, or difference in opinion. Yeah.
There were many things that they were challenged in the past 10 years. So, for example, when you are a small organization, for example, started the two of us in a Starbucks, right? So we didn't have an office. Like for 6 months, we had no office. We were going to Starbucks to meet, and so when you are small, you can do a lot of experiments, and they work for a period of time. And those experiments are not only they happen in multiple places. For example, the services that you offer. When you are 2 people, 5 people, 10 people, it's one kind of offering. Yeah. And they work for a period of time, but they don't work when you are
scale. Like when
exactly
if your intention is to continue building the business and not stay there. No?
Exactly. Yeah. And that is true also for the internal culture as well. So when you are 5, 10, 15, the way that you interact with your people is one. When you reach 50, that had to change. So also when you were in one country or in one office, it was one kind of culture and behaviors and communication patterns and stuff. As you start scaling, so it changed completely when you go to other countries. So there were many things in the past 10 years that we adopted, and we had to change and change again and change again. So changing was a constant in 10 years, and across everything we did. As I said, from internal culture to services that we provide to how we communicate, everything.
And our relation to change as well kind of changed, because we were thinking about, there is a particular way of working. As you said, there's a particular way of interacting. The relationship that we have with each and every person, there is that way. But I think as you there are certain thresholds that you reach those, suddenly that the thing that was working really well is almost having the opposite effect. And because you no longer you don't no longer have the same size, the same dynamics, the same clients, even the same services that you're providing. And I remember, I wish I had read that then. I don't think it was even written, that book called Creativity Inc. by Ed Catmull, who created, is it DreamWorks, I think?
No, not DreamWorks.
Pixar.
Yeah.
Pixar. And when he sat in front of his people, and he said one of the biggest mistakes that he made was they were moving to they're being bought out by Disney or something, and he stood in front of them and they said, I will promise you one thing: nothing will change. I will not allow our company to change. And he said it was the biggest mistake that he made in his professional career, because well, change is constant.
Yeah.
And as the kind of the field changes, you have to adapt to it, and you know, the size that you are, the kind of thing that you're trying to do, your next goal means that you have to change. And people were coming to him and said, "Oh, you said nothing will change," and he said he had to eat those same words so many times. I realized actually that was the wrong thing to say, because actually what you're saying is your values don't change, right? Certain principles don't change when they are applicable, but everything else changes.
The application, no, the implementation of those, definitely.
Yeah.
So, all right. So a little bit of history now. So Codurance was founded, 2013. October, I think.
31st of October 2013.
So in a few days,
Yes.
and from there, Starbucks, two guys. You had just had a baby. Almost,
Yes. Yeah. So my son was born just a few days, like in January. So we started in the end of October, and he was born in January. So for us, it was like I was
Two
living
babies at once.
Exactly. Exactly. So, and I already had one that was a 2-year-old. So living the comfort of a safe job in a large organization that, I actually had a great time there, and there was, I only left because I wanted to start a company, but I loved working there. So it was a big risk as well. So there was a lot going on in my personal life at that.
Yeah. But it was exciting as well, I think.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Worth doing.
Yeah, it's definitely worth doing. I mean, there's a lot of, there's a lot of things that go wrong, and a lot of heartaches along the way, and sleepless nights and everything else, just like a baby, isn't it? But the kind of the joy that it gives you is you are at the genesis of something, and there's a big risk that it will fail, but also you are so motivated to make it work and make it work well. It was very exciting.
But you were asking about the history, right? So
but let's go like because for me, I guess that there are several turning points, kind of like places where like, okay, so this marks a milestone, and I'm guessing that going from you two, which you already knew each other, right, to maybe bringing someone else into the team. I guess that could be one. I guess it will change the dynamic a bit. No,
the first person we brought in happened like I think at the start of
at the very start.
Because the way it worked out was that I stayed on at the investment bank, and they hired Codurance, which myself. They said, "Well, can you both work for us?" And I said, "No, one of us has to kind of, start."
Get the business going.
Yeah, because it would be a big blow for them, both of us leaving at the same time, right? So, but one of us had to.
Yeah, and then I stayed on, and we hired another person. He was our first employee. And then he joined me, and we were there for quite a while.
Yeah,
while we were trying to drum up new business for about a year, and then at the same time we were trying to build other clients. So that was a big turning point. And I guess at the time we kind of started using our contacts, and one of our previous consultancy hired us for a bit to help them with their hiring. That was
and some training as well.
And then we found a small client as well.
Before we at the beginning, like we had this friend, and we were recruiting from the community, from the software craftsmanship community. Most of the people that we hired in the first probably couple of years, maybe even 3 years, they were all coming from the software craftsmanship community. But at the beginning, we were hiring very senior people as well, and to do specific jobs and stuff. But then we had another client engagement where we were building software for them. We went away from just like small trainings or consultancies to actually running a small project. But one of the turning points when we actually start investing, and that also happened early on, probably a year in, we hired our first 2 apprentices.
Yeah.
So there were 2 people that they were hired without having a client to go.
Yeah.
Because at that point, we were probably just over a year or around a year. we were already thinking about we need to start building the next generation or preparing to grow a little bit, but with the culture that we want to have. Because when you hire a lot of senior people, if they are from the same community, the same kind of group of friends, it's a bit easier to keep that.
Yeah, they're kind of aligned now in values and
Exactly.
ways of thinking, so to speak.
So
no?
most of our first people that work with us, they were people that we already knew, right? We didn't go out and just recruit, had a selection process. No, we invited them to work with us, or they were recommended by people that we knew. But then when the hiring two apprentices was a turning point, because we always wanted to have an apprenticeship program and grow our own talent. So that was probably one of the
part
first
of the
big ones.
the metaphor of the craft person, no,
Exactly.
and journeyman, etc., etc.
And I took one and Mesh took the other one.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And like thinking back on it, it sounds so scary because we had kind of 2.5 clients at the time, and we were already paying bills and people's salaries and everything else, and then hiring, and
making that kind of investment.
making that investment, hiring apprentices, and these people we were paying. We were paying them according to their rate. It wasn't like a government apprenticeship scheme. This was, people on a salary, paid to learn at the very start, when we couldn't really even afford it.
Yeah.
And I think that in a way, because we, over the years we've seen a lot of consultancies start and fall, and I would say that one of the key things that we did was not to hire for opportunities, but to hire for our internal culture, our vision on where we wanted to go. I think that put us in a very good
This is the thing that we
step.
carry until today, right? So all the hires, like we always ask, would this person fit Codurance, fit our organization? And most people are hired, they don't even know which project they're going to go and when they're going to go. They need to fit first, and then we'll figure out what clients they go. This is a thing that carries on until today.
Yeah, I actually have that conversation very often as well. So, okay. So, these 2 new apprentices come in, etc. At some point, I guess, you need to stop, let's say, working in the business, which is kind of how you guys started, no? Like, hey, could you continue working here? Like, you were still writing codes, and you need to start working for the business, no? Like, how am I gonna grow? Like, for you, like, and this is, I guess, will be similar or different experiences now, but when do you remember, like, okay, so the most value that I can add to what we are building is no longer just writing code or you know what I mean, like getting on with one project. By the way, I know that we're still very involved with lots of projects.
Yeah, it never ended.
Like it never ends. But at some point you need to start thinking, okay, this is maybe not the best use of my time, no? And if we really want this thing to grow and to continue evolving, my focus needs to be somewhere else, which may not be what you like to do, right? Because writing code, etc., we all love that, no?
Yeah.
But running a business requires a few other things now that you didn't sign up for, so to speak. No? So what are your thoughts on that?
I think from the very beginning, we knew that we had to work on the business, right? And one of us, in fact, even Sandro at the time initially started, but when we found a small client, Sandro was working. You were working full time on that client as well. So we had to work in the business and on the business at the same time. But we knew that we never really discussed it, but we knew that we had to, in order for this to grow, and we knew that for a consultancy, it has to grow. Otherwise, it's a kind of a sitting duck. It's like it's
very fragile.
Very
thing,
fragile.
No? Like,
we knew it was how fragile it was. The whole thing where clients 1, 2, 3 clients, and if all of them went kind of like in one go, that's it. You don't even have a long runway. We're just paying salaries. So we knew that we had to get to that, and as soon as I finished on the investment banking side, and I think by that time you'd finished on the other project as well.
I think that I was in a place where The project was in a good state for us to start
Adding.
hiring more people and adding them to continue the project, and I could start
Fully
not
done.
being full time anymore.
Exactly. And then we just started working on the business. Well, the main thing was to find clients. We knew at the time we were working in what we at the time called the embedded craftsperson model, which was, have people in other people, our clients' teams, helping them change the mindset, the practices, helping them learn, kind of mentor. All that was our initial kind of service. And we knew that we had to develop that, but we have to find clients where we can then start scaling and start changing our service models as well, where because the embedded craftsperson model doesn't really scale that well, and you need a specific type of person, not just a skill set, but it's you need to have a company of mentors, and that's not easy to create.
Yeah.
Even though we were actually well placed because of the community and everything that we came from, that's what we were doing for the community. But I think from then on, we started working on the business fairly within the first after maybe a year or so. Yeah.
So you mentioned the community a couple of times already, both from the point of view of the people that you started with, also getting referrals, getting new clients, word of mouth, that kind of thing. What kind of role did the community or communities in general play in the history of Codurance? Let's put it like that.
Well, it was massive. Like Codurance would not exist without the communities.
No,
I don't think that we would have a chance of creating a company if we haven't had been so deeply involved with the communities. Of course, mostly with the craftsmanship community, but it started even with the Java community before that. And also not only the community in London, because like when we started the community in 2010 until we started Codurance in almost at the end of 2013, so it's almost like 3 years from starting the community to actually start a company. And we never thought that we would start a company when we started the community. We never had that goal. When we started the community and got involved with our community, we never had that, we're going to do that because we want to have a business. So what meant was the relationships that we built in the community, they were genuine relationships. They were relationships of like-minded people that shared the same ideals and values and so on and so forth. So what happened was when we actually decided to start the company, we had a good network of people, not only in the UK, but also in other countries. Even like when we went to Spain, for example, the only reason that Codurance is in Spain today is because of the connections that we had with you, for example, and the community, the craftsmanship community in Barcelona, mostly, and the wider Spain later on. But if we didn't have the connections with the software craftsmanship community in Spain, I don't know how we would have opened Spain.
We probably wouldn't have been in Spain then by then.
It was. Well, there's
quite
a few years ago. When we were starting, that was one of the first things that we did. We ran the first event, and I think for the second one, we were already, hey, what can we do? This guy is in London as well doing this. Why don't we, get in touch? See if they would like to come, maybe run a couple of sessions, etc. And that's I wrote to you and all of that. So I definitely see, and not just the craftsmanship community. I think there is a lot of aspects around agile as well, and other communities as well that I think have benefited the company and the people in the company.
Definitely.
It's something that we still do a lot, right? Like we are constantly contributing to those communities as part of the.
Because we kept contributing to the Java community. Like we had ties with the .NET community in US. We had Rust community. We had Go community. We had like XP Tuesday Club. So we had like loads of different communities in multiple countries that we were attached to. And we kept the for example, the tradition, let's say, every time that we went to another place. So this happened, for example, when we went to Manchester, now Leeds, we did that the same in Lisbon. We are doing the same São Paulo, now
Bristol.
in Bristol. So every place that we would like to have an office, or we already open an office, we always say like, we will start a software craftsmanship community as well. So that is also a way for us to give back to the community and also connect to other like-minded people from those areas. So the community is integral to Codurance.
Yeah. All right. So fast forward. Yeah.
So
Office
after
in-
so 2016 we opened Barcelona. Then 2018 we opened Manchester, and then we at that point 2018 this was another important time, because up until then, so we are going from 2013 to 2018, so going from London, Barcelona, Madrid. London, Barcelona, and Manchester. So up until then, our strategy with the company was always to grow geographically. So our goal was every city that we open, so we had cities in mind, not countries necessarily in mind. And we would create a local community, we would see people in person and replicate what we had both in London and Barcelona mainly. And we were trying to replicate that in Manchester as well. But then, of course, that end of 2019, beginning of 2020, COVID hit.
Yeah.
And that is not only that changed the way we work, it changed our strategy. Exactly, approach to growth.
Right. Yeah.
So for example, that shook some of the core foundations that we had as a company, because the company was always attached to
a location.
And communities in that location. So of face-to-face interactions with communities and locations and stuff, and all of a sudden that went away.
Yeah.
And that was adapting to that was complicated because then we were not seeing anyone anymore, and then it's like, how do we even grow now? And then then no one wanted to work in a physical office anymore, so our clients were also remote.
And the communities, people were not coming in.
And then communities died for at least 2020, 2021. There was no community events, and the online events were not that great.
In fact, it actually hit our momentum from a community perspective, from bringing the craftsmanship mindset into the wider industry. But until then, that was kind of we were quite focused on this. And
conference after conference, right?
We were going to conferences, and we had we started the Software Craftsmanship London, SEL.
The conference.
And that was a big conference, and it was actually very well attended. And it was very well regarded. And the main goal of the Software Craftsmanship London was to bring, and we held it in the city, to bring the craftsmanship mindset into beyond the community, beyond the community.
The local,
does get a bit
beyond the local area.
Local area, because it was almost like the sessions were amazing and people were trickling in, and but you were kind of preaching to the converted to some level as well. And we wanted to, and we knew that we lived in this bubble, and it's craftsmanship, agile even is still that bubble, right? And then we wanted to kind of bring that out, and we started the SEL.
I think it just
we ran it 3 times.
Yeah, we ran it, the first year was 2017.
Yeah.
And then we ran until 2019, so 17, 18, 19.
And
then COVID hit, and then we could not. And this exactly, just to clarify for people maybe listening, so that is the London Software Craftsmanship Community, that is the community free event for developers and stuff. And also the people attending that, they tend to be developers of all backgrounds and stuff. But taking that to organizations, we had to create a proper conference and attract all the big names in our industry to go there, so that then the people attending the conference, they were people coming from large organizations, from London and different parts of Europe and stuff. So, but that was a way for us to spread. But as Matt said,
mindset. And that's one of the places. Although we've been able to revive the craftsmanship communities, and they are now thriving again, and they did take a big hit. And it did take a while for them to start coming in. But for example, the SEL, the conference, we still haven't managed to get that going yet.
No, I guess COVID was a big hit for everyone, but I think it did change us in many regards, because especially in consultancy, no, coming from people need to come and work at our offices or that kind of thing. We've basically gone remote. Like I only go to the office maybe once a month, and usually it's not because I have to. It's because I want to, because of some social aspect to it. Let's go have lunch or whatever, you know. And no, we were saying that we've been doing these things for almost 2-3 years now, remotely completely, right?
Yes, totally.
So it did change, I think, fundamentally a lot of how we engage with clients, with bringing remote in. It has changed how we approach the organization. We talked about global, and having cities, or thinking about very local focus to a global company, right? Like Codurance is one thing, and doesn't matter where you're getting, where the talent is or where the people are, no? They need to be able to work together, even if they're distributed, because that's part of how we work now, no? Definitely. And integrate well, et cetera. So that's one change that I feel like it's critical. Yeah. But it has also evolved our business model.
Exactly, because then the model evolved, because then once we went all remote, it forced us to become really global, right? So, or really integrate, for example, to start with UK and Spain. So we really, because then everyone was remote anyway, so then it was easier.
We're all the same distance.
Exactly. So then that's where it started. I think COVID made both countries, UK and Spain, closer.
Much closer, yeah.
And once we were able to do that, that prepared the terrain, if you like, to say, well, then maybe we can try, why not go to Portugal? Yeah. And then try that, because now we learned how to work remote, and now more recently we have people in Brazil. We are open in Brazil and US. So now it changed how we are expanding, but we learned how to do things more collaborative. And an example of that was in the past, most of our clients, they were UK clients or Spain clients, and when we had people from different countries working on that client, it was still a bit awkward. Nowadays, when you look at our portfolio of clients, we have people from all our different offices, different countries, and so it's the exception to find a single client where we just have people from one country.
Yeah,
is more the exceptional case.
And in a way, it's allowed us to create a very differentiating service, especially now Brazil coming online as well. Is that for us, Brazil is not an offshoring model, right? We are creating people from the ground up. With the same values, same ways of working, same level of skill, and
same interview process.
Same interview process. And what that's allowing us to do is to keep the quality of our service and the experience that our clients see, and even within our own company, to be the same. So this is, in a way, it's quite an exciting time, because we are not working in many consultancies have taken that offshoring model as well, where they would have a lot of people who are offshore, and they've tried to kind of keep the quality up through training, boot camps, and this kind of thing. But for us, it's integral. The way that we work, we have quite mixed teams now, and they are working at the same level with the same practices and values. So there is no two tiers of service. Of course, for our clients, it's completely transparent to them where people are from, and even our rates are different as well based on where they're from. But it doesn't make from a quality of service point of view.
And we are seeding the local market as well with the community, as I said. So it's not only is still the same mindset of we are open a new location, but we want not only to bring Codurance, but we want to bring craftsmanship to that place. So we are very excited of.
And that's a bigger challenge as well, because the distance we are traveling, especially like place like Brazil, is much bigger. The agile and craftsmanship and so on, although like in certain bubbles as we see is quite common.
It's more mature.
It's mature and so on, but kind of really have to build people. Like in the UK or Spain, for example, it's easy to find even hire for the same mindset, the same kind of practices and so on. It's easier, but
in other places, you
other
see
places,
the different countries are at different stages, like on average, of
their
maturity
evolution
in
with that.
certain techniques and
Yeah.
practices and methodologies.
and the offshoring model as well, it kind of in a way forces them to remain where they are in some cases.
Yeah.
You know, the kind of services they provide, the kind of relationships that they have, often they have not been able to evolve.
Because most of the offshoring models, they are not integrated, right? So
Yeah,
they are
exactly.
almost second-class seats. And then what we are doing, we're just taking the experience that we had integrating all the countries in Europe and just including a new one.
Yeah, yeah,
Right,
exactly.
so,
Exactly.
Right. So we get to 10 years of Codurance. What do you see in the future? What do you think the future holds?
AI is going to replace us.
No, but I'm serious. Like, I mean, it's a journey, and it's a journey that not a lot of people get as far in. Let's put it like that. Like the average, survival rate for most startups is about 2-3 years, right?
Yeah.
So 10 is it's
Yeah.
a good number.
It's an
It's a good
achievement.
number.
It's a good number, but I'll tell you what, whoever said ignorance is bliss. Because I think, like in those days, we were a leaf on the wind. We were buffeted everywhere, and we were happy with it. We were fine. Now we're a stable company, and we worry a lot more.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
So what do you think is coming up? Like, would you say, if not, foreseeing it as something that you definitely think it's a trend and it's going to happen, what is it that you wish would happen? No, like what is it
For the company.
Yeah. Like if we talk again in 10 years.
Right. I still have that dream that we spoke a lot in the early days, right? So one thing is to have a company, but another thing is to make a dent in our industry, right? So there are very few companies that we look at.
Going back to that challenge, no, that like I think
What we
things
started with.
Yeah, things can be done differently. Like
exactly.
we could probably
Because that was the goal of the software craftsmanship community.
Yeah.
That, like many other movements as well, Agile the same, and Lean the same, and DevOps the same. So there were a group of people that said, look, we can do better, right? We can create a series of techniques or ways of working and stuff. A mindset, and we are gonna promote that. And the more they talked about it, they found people that liked that mindset and joined. So the software craftsmanship community was. We can do better. We can do things in a better way. We can spread that word and really make a difference in our industry. And now we have that opportunity to do as a company. But as a company, you need to have size. This is important. So we always discuss that internally. So for example, in order to evolve our industry, you cannot try one technique in one small project for a small period of time. Because that's not enough for you to change the industry. In order to change the industry, you need to say, look, we tried those techniques, all those different experiments in a big amount of projects for a very long period of time in many different industries. This is a thing that we consider.
These are the emerging patterns that we see that work, or this is why they don't work, or whatever, and then evolve from that.
Yeah. And this is for me, like personally, is a thing that I want. I want, when I look at Codurance, I would say, like, in a few years, like in another 10 years, I would love to keep evolving the ways that we work, keep finding better ways to deliver software, and also that this could be shared with the wider industry, and people can say, look, you know what, those things that are emerging from Codurance, they are very good. It would be good to adopt them and evolve and help to evolve, right?
Yeah, the other day you were saying, like, I remember someone in sales or something was saying, like, oh, you guys maybe, or was it a friend of yours, or I don't remember exactly, but you guys like share too much and that kind of thing, and I personally think that's not the way to go. If you want to be sharing, because your end goal is not to
Not to hold knowledge.
hold on
Yeah.
to knowledge, and that's what's going to make
RIP
you
is
special.
not our business
Exactly.
model.
No,
Yes.
exactly. No, so yeah, you give it away. You want everyone to be doing this. So if this becomes more common practice and the way to do things, what you want to do is you want to do it great, because if you want to do it, you want to do a great job. You want to have great people that others want to work with. So that in itself should be the allure.
It just creates an ecosystem, isn't it? And it comes back to you. Whatever you send comes back to you many fold. I mean, this is the kind of the way of the open source world, and all the different movements like Agile and Software Craftsmanship, DevOps, and so on. That's what they've all been trying to do. They've found ways that work well, and they've not tried to hold them. They've tried to disseminate that and kind of make the IT industry better. Because I think someone said recently, that so many people are joining the industry that the seniority is constant of our industry in terms of the
it doubles in size every 5 years,
and the seniority,
and then because of that the seniority keeps
the average seniority keeps coming down and down. So kind of creating these patterns, these ways of working, these best practices, and the communities that are helping people kind of, it's what we're doing is
raise the bar.
Exactly.
Basically raise the bar. Yeah.
Exactly, and that is our mission, and it always has been, and I think there is moving back to things like software craftsmanship. Software craftsmanship was, in a way, it was a reaction that Agile kind of was a very is still a very good idea. It's just that as it kind of hits the practicalities and these old organizations, they kind of do it, but just follow the motions.
Gets a bit twisted, no?
It gets a bit twisted and turns into whatever they want it to be, and kind of you lose the message. And software craftsmanship is always has tried to bring that message back, and things like
more
DevOps
focus on the engineering, the quality,
and this is. And also kind of the small teams, the iterating fast, all these things, that was part of the software craftsmanship message as well. And we are still carrying that message forward, and it's the thing that has worked for us. It has worked for our clients. It's working for when we teach this in communities and when we learn, and it's the fundamental of the work that we do. And I think keep kind of. It's not rocket science at the end of the day. It's that mindset, and if we can keep instilling that mindset in people and keep focusing on that important thing about all the things that the Craftsmanship Manifesto or the Agile Manifesto or XP, all these things have tried to teach us, kind of keep bringing the focus back on. That is the way to do good software.
Yeah, and another thing about in 10 years' time, Mesh mentioned the ecosystem. I always give when I talk about that, I give an example of a shopping center. So for example, there are places where you go to a shopping center, you have multiple shops that are selling clothes, one next to the other. Or you have like a food area in the shopping center as well, a food court. So with multiple restaurants as well. There is an Italian, a Greek, and so on and so forth, one next to the other. And then it's like, but why would they all be in the same place? Are they not competing with each other? So of course that there is a competition, but there is an ecosystem that was created. It was a demand. So people say like, I want to buy clothes. I'm gonna go there where there is a lot of shops with good clothes, and they need to be of a good as well in the same standard, because like the people buying those clothes or going out to eat, they expect those companies to be competing with each other, but they still have that opportunity. And for me, craftsmanship needs to create that ecosystem. I want to have more companies like Codurance. So it's not when people say like, why do you share so much? Because I want the ecosystem to grow. I want to have companies like ours. And more, because they will be
basically, because when that happens, the pie gets bigger.
And because the clients become more demanding as well. The clients start experiencing better service, right? For companies like ours that are focused on quality, focused on software craftsmanship, and they say, look, I want more of that, and then they talk to each other. So an ecosystem is created, new ways of working is created, and then So yes, the clients become more educated of, they said like, I can get good service from more sources now. And those sources of good service, they also have a healthy competition to keep improving their services. So for me, that's a very good reinforcing circle, as we see in quite a lot of those places where shops, you have the same for car shops as well. You have like different brands almost in the same place in front of each other. You have like, I don't know, a BMW in front of a Mercedes that is in front of an Audi or something like that. They're all next to each other.
Yeah.
There is a reason for that.
Yeah.
And I want the same for craftsmanship.
Yeah.
No. Okay, so we've talked about the history, talked about the future, etc., etc. Are there any personal lessons that you've learned this past 10 years that you think, hey, for someone who's maybe starting a similar business or is trying to thinking about leaving the job with a baby to
don't start with something that will be on the way. Yeah.
No, but are there any lessons learned, I guess, that you want to share?
Many.
Many.
Where do you start? I think one thing we were talking about is the change is constant, right? This is a lesson that we've had to learn. We kind of started with a very clear idea born out of ignorance that we knew exactly how to run a company, and many things that we kind of riled against ended up being thinking, they're there for a reason. We had very, and some, like we were talking about earlier as well, some things do work in small contexts. So like, for example, we had this idea of open salaries that we wanted to create like a very, transparency was like and still is a key principle. I wouldn't call it a value, but a key principle. But we took it to a very extreme
level.
And although that whole
nowadays
idea,
is not even legal.
some of the things that we tried to do,
GDPR and everything else.
We wanted to create that fairness, and one we thought, well, the fairness would be that if everyone knew everyone else's salaries, then that would help create the fairness. In fact, for a small group it worked because we were
it did
friends
for a
and
while.
community.
It did for a while.
But as it came larger, it has the absolute opposite effect, because in a way, I mean, that's a fireside chat on its own, but in a way it turned out to be that the one who was really good at negotiating and good at maneuvering and influencing, those were the ones that ended up with more money. And the ones that really cared about it and so on, right? So there are certain like lessons like that where we learned we thought this will always be like this, and it ended up not being. There are lessons around other,
but at the same time, it didn't go to what I would say. It didn't go to what most companies were already doing, which is the complete opposite, the opaqueness, and you negotiate, you sign. I think at this point we're kind of like in an in between that is quite balanced, and it still, for now, let's see in 10 years, but for now it still holds true both to the values and the mindset, etc., as well as the need for a scale and the need for certain systems that keep things working. No,
exactly, and that's why the values remain the same, because we did that for fairness as well, and what we're doing now is fairness, right? So fairness is the value. How we aim to do it then, and how we aim to do it.
And we have legislation changing as well in this particular example. So when we started, we could do certain things normally. But then, for example, GDPR, as it was started being enforced in the UK and stuff, there were certain personal data that cannot be shared with the wider company. So there were quite a few things that we had to be changed, not only because we wanted to change, but also because we need to comply as the world evolves, regulations change.
And the other thing was structure. That,
and we've gone through a couple of cycles, different things, right?
And that's again a long story in its own right. How we kind of from a very very flat and then learning some very hard lessons about what flat structure actually means. We are still very flat in terms of structure, but we have better processes, better roles and responsibilities. Before, because we were small initially, keeping everything absolute bare minimum process, bare minimum structure work. But as you grow and you reach certain kind of thresholds, like I think it was 20, 4E, 80, something like that, things that were working before don't work. You have to introduce more certainty in the more process and those kind of things. But I think, again, starting from this aversion to process, aversion to bureaucracy, aversion to structure, actually has meant is that we put it in where it's absolutely essential, so that we are still trying to avoid that, bureaucracy for the sake of it, or process for the sake of it, that, keeping things nice and lean and providing process where is absolutely necessary and essential.
For me, like one, it's still related to the same thread, but was at the beginning, we would always try to do things by consensus because we were very small. So every change, and as we were growing, we were still able to speak to everyone to a good depth, right? So as we were growing, the communication patterns start changing. You don't have the same bandwidth for communication, or they change. Subgroups are formed and everything else. We still try to reach consensus, but sometimes changes are needed. They are difficult, but they are needed. They are difficult for us as founders, and when those changes are made, they are difficult for everyone, right? So, and some people will be looking forward to the changes. Others will not like them at all. And there were quite a few times in that journey that we were a bit quite concerned. We knew that we had to make those changes, but we also knew that those changes would upset a small percentage of the company. And that percentage varied over time, depending on also the changes we're making. And those were quite scary because some of the changes that we had to make.
You wanna hold on to what you have. You don't want it to be affected, but sometimes shedding that layer or that introduction of a change is absolutely necessary if you want to continue.
Ultimately, you want to satisfy everyone. We want everyone to be happy. We want everyone to remain in the company and find their place and stuff. Not always this is possible because you need to make some changes. And we, in the early days, dealing with that, knowing that every time you make a change, there will be a degree of dissatisfaction that might even lead to people leaving the organization or saying things, Codurance is not the same as it was before. Because for them, that change was not what they expected or something. So those were difficult for us to cope with. But then first of all, going back to the lesson learned, so we were not really prepared at the beginning for that because we had never owned the company. We never had to make those decisions. But then we know that we need to look after the company. We need to make sure that the vast majority will have a place, will have a career, will grow with us and stuff. But along the way, there will be people that will find this is a different company than the one that I joined.
And there will be people that will join as well, right?
Because of the changes. Exactly. So, I like the way they do things now. But this was a lesson learned as well. We had to be able to cope with the side effect of all the changes that we made.
And we had to learn that not everyone shares the perspective, especially the wider company perspective that you have, especially when the company gets larger. Is that you when we were 5 or 10 or so on, everyone knew exactly what the company's problems were, and the problems were at a smaller scale, or its challenges, or where he was trying to get to, and so on. And everyone could be involved with everything. And then suddenly, you get to a particular point where not everyone is getting involved. Everyone has a very different perspective, especially we kind of trying to steer the company towards the future. And you try to bring everyone to that, but you can't convince everybody that this kind of change is needed for that kind of thing, and you have to kind of make peace with that.
And there is an example of changes that were imposed on us as well, right? I remember one clearly. and that was a surprise for both of us. In the early days, we wanted to have an extremely flat organization, and we didn't want to have levels of seniority. We wanted everyone to have a single title, and of course, people that
everyone
perform,
was a craftsperson.
everyone was a craftsperson,
yeah, regardless of what they did.
exactly. And then, of course, people had different salaries and stuff. The salaries were also open according to their productivity, their impact and stuff. But everyone would have exactly the same title. We would not introduce hierarchies and seniority levels. And we found back then that was great. We said, well, this is how we envisioned the company.
Yeah.
And then, all of a sudden, as our company started growing,
people started asking for
people started asking, I want to know what I need to do to grow.
What's my level?
Exactly, and they didn't want to share the same title. So we had quite a few people say, look, I'm happy with my salary, I'm happy with that how the salaries are distributed and where I sit. But what I don't like is the idea of not having the sense of progression. I have been here for 3 years and I still have the same title. So I want to have a career path. So then more and more said, I want a career path. I want to know what I need to do to go to the next level. I want that clarity and stuff. And that caught us by surprise. Because for us as the founders, we didn't think about career progression because for us it's not relevant. But for a lot of people, it's extremely relevant.
Yeah.
They say, look, I want to join. I want to know what is the expectation.
I don't want to just see my salary kind of going up. I want to see.
I want to understand what the expectation is. I want to understand what I need to do to the next level. Yeah. And as we were growing, we had to structure all of that. But that was a bottom-up change, not a top-down. So all the seniority levels and the structure.
Okay. Well, let's see. If you had to, let's say, advise someone, no, that's like.
We need a lot of advice.
What would be your advice to someone who's?
I would ask myself very deeply. Are you sure that you want to do this?
Do you really want to
you know, like I think we were talking about this yesterday. You know what? Sometimes I think if I'd stayed at the investment bank, I would have been maybe even making more money and like maybe some hair left.
So it's like, this is a good point. Like, make sure that you're doing it for the right reason, and money is not the right reason.
No. So I think that this is kind of summarized that like it is much harder than I expect. I think that this is a thing that I had like I was in a few podcasts or interviews and stuff, and people were asking me, look, it's been almost 10 years of your book, right? So how do you see things? And this is related to the company as well, because like when we started the company, it was the first time that we were doing that. So our vision of the world was very skewed to being an employee, being a software developer and stuff. When you actually need to pay salaries every month, and you need to worry about like what's going to happen in 6 months' time, we have now 200 people across different offices in different countries and stuff. So your worries are very, very different. So the things that keep you awake at night are very different. So I think that for example, for me is, if you really want to go into business, first of all, make sure that you understand that you're going to be working more than you ever worked in your life. There's no way that someone that owns a business will work less than where.
Let me qualify that. If you want the business to continue growing, because as we mentioned before, like there are certain things like if you're okay with, yes, you do some trainings and you give your talks or whatever, and you are okay at that level, you're not expecting to build something greater than just that. You can maintain and you can
have a more
optimize.
As long as you just yourself.
Exactly. Right? As soon as you need to pay salaries.
Exactly.
You have to worry about stability.
Yeah. Exactly. But just to qualify, like you want to be.
No, sure.
Comfortable,
But I think that there are two things that I always say that like two things that changed my worldview significantly. One was to have kids when I became a father, and the other one was when I started having employees. so because that changed, because then you are not alone anymore. You need to think about, look,
people depend on
exactly
you, and
their
the decisions that you made, they no longer affect you only, no?
And sometimes a small percentage will need to be affected so that the wider percentage is not. So, and those things, so when you are in business, you need to make sure, first of all, you're there for the right reasons. You are doing what you love and stuff, but you need to know that you have a lot of responsibilities that is not very clear the size of those responsibilities when you start and you are small, and they become larger and larger.
Yeah. But in terms of like advice for someone starting the business, there is one thing that we've always known is that if you are, as you become, like, stability comes from size and it comes from diversity. That's why we are always looking at different countries, we're looking at growing in different regions, all that kind of thing. And it also helps you, like this, the impact, like again, your vision, right? What is your vision? And if the vision is that we want to have that impact in the industry, we're gonna help raise the bar, then it comes from that combination of size and diversity again. Then you need to be looking at many different kinds of challenges, and then internally you need to create that organization that internalizes, shares, and in a
learns
way
and adapts,
exactly, creates the knowledge that then can be shared again outside. And for that, it is an endeavor where you are, like, a lot of people ask us, even internally, like, okay, why do you keep growing? Why are we not good at the size we are? And these are reasons. You can't stay the same size. That's impossible. You're either shrinking or you're growing, right? So you have to then decide that direction, especially when you start paying salaries and those kind of things.
In fact, I said that internally in one of our hands-on session. I think you were traveling, and because you can, as you said, you cannot stay the same. In fact, there's no inertia. Like there's always a pressure pushing your business down, because you cannot just keep. For example, there's no such a thing as if we do nothing, we will continue as we are.
Yeah.
No, like. People will move on, clients will move on, things will move on, technology moves on, everything moves on, everything is emotion out there. So the pressure bringing your business down is always, so you need to make always a constant force just to keep it where it is. It's not just do nothing and we'll stay. So the advice that I'll give is, and this was difficult for us, and we started the business thinking about doing the things that we like doing. And that's the whole thing about working on the business or for the business, all that kind of stuff. So if you are starting a business, you as a founder, your job is to run the business, is to make sure that you have the business, and everyone that is working for the business, they have a stable life, they have their salaries, they have like a career progression and stuff. But your job is to focus on the business. So that is not only, it's still aligned to your passion and what you want to do, but it's not necessarily, you're not going to be doing, unless that you are an independent consultant. When you run a business, you're not necessarily going to be doing, in our case, for example, writing code every day.
Things that you like, especially the activities, not the things, but the activities that you loved, you end up doing them the least. Like wherever you come from, wherever you are comfortable at, actually, you end up running a company when you had no experience of running a company, no formal training, not that there is any really. But so you start going into a lot of uncomfortable situations where you are a beginner, you're a novice, you don't understand, and you constantly, because the challenges are changing, you're constantly learning and making a lot of mistakes. And this is the other thing, you just have to get used to like being wrong
and learn from them. The best you can hope for now is, yes, you're gonna make mistakes, but can you learn from those mistakes? Make sure that they don't have any. Like if you're gonna be wrong in something else.
Exactly.
Not in the same thing over and over.
And then embrace those things, those new challenges as well. Because some people were asking me in the past, when did you lose the passion for coding? And I said, I never lost that passion. So like, but how often?
I wish I could only go. Then my life would be a lot simpler.
But how often do you do this? Well, not very often. So, but then you lost the passion. No, I didn't lose the passion. I just found other things that they challenge me more,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because as a developer, like, think that after so many years in the industry, I've done a lot, but like, for me, another advice is treat every aspect of your business as the new challenge, as the new passion. It's not that you're not replacing things, but you embrace the challenges, right? So as we need to do sales, marketing, and finding clients, and evolving service lines, and all of that. So all of those things.
It's an opportunity to improve, not to be at
Exactly.
the level required, no?
To be a better professional, to add more skills, and so that's for me, like, that's what is not a replacement, but that's what I transferred the effort and the passion, if you like.
All right. Well, we're coming up on the hour and 5 minutes. As it's
As it's
usual for us.
Go on, start with the new
we
topic.
we can go to 10, no? But we're not close. So I guess this is a good time to close.
Yeah.
Again, for those of you who are new, we do this very often. Hopefully, we'll start soon doing it weekly again.
We've not been doing it very often for the past few months.
Yeah, it's been a couple of months, very intense months. But the intention is there to go back to it. If you want to reach out, we have the YouTube channel, so like, subscribe, etc., so that once this stuff goes out anytime, you get notified and you can watch it. And as well, reaching out, because a lot of the topics that we discuss, they come from the community and from people with questions and all this. So if you add us, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever, well, Twitter, no, X. Now, or whatever.
Platform formerly known as Twitter.
Exactly. We'll be more than happy to reply and and get the conversation started, because I think this is it not only helps others, but it also helps us, no? In a sense to have this conversation.
Definitely.
So hope to see you on the next episode.
Yeah. Thank
care.
you and bye-bye.